what we're looking at is really becoming a laboratory for the development of very cutting-edge technologies, and of course marine renewables are certainly that.
On the back of Scottish technology, the Lynas technology, which is the articulated snake that moves on the waves and with hydraulics.
I'm the Minister of Housing and Environment from the Maldives. We just signed a memorandum of understanding with the Scottish government to explore the possibility of harnessing renewable energy from the ocean environment.
Well, it's very significant that lots of different countries are beginning to form partnerships to develop renewables in a big way. Even whatever comes out of this whole sort of legal process at the international level, there's lots of countries who just want to get down and do it. And renewables, of course, is a big part of the answer, and the fact that the Maldives and Scotland are going to work together on developing marine renewables, which they both have in ample proportions, is, I think, a very positive part of an overall fairly negative picture here.
The Maldives announced its intention to go carbon neutral within the next 10 years by 2020, and this is just one step, progressively forward in getting towards the carbon neutral goal. And half an hour ago we signed an MOU. The AOSIS signed an MOU with Denmark, UNDP, and World Bank, what is known as the SIDS doc. That is also a renewable energy initiative in the AOSIS countries. So we are, on the right path, and I think it's starting with small steps, with small countries, and I think in time it will spill over onto the larger countries, the big emitters, and they will follow us. And on this particular thing, Maldives and many other small island states will lead by example, and eventually the others will follow.
What's happening in the Maldives in terms of adaptation? Are we seeing any good news, progress in terms of funding for that as well?
There's funding supposedly there, and which has been pledged, but which hasn't really been forthcoming in terms of actually making an impact on the ground. And for the Maldives, adaptation involves almost everything, because you've got some, fresh water issues. There's problems with what agriculture there is. The fish stocks seem to be changing, and that's a big issue. And of course, you've got the perennial issues of coastal erosion, and eventually, as we go further down the line, sea level rise in a very direct sense. So, adaptation is going to involve things like seawalls, but it also involves what they call soft engineering, things like protecting the coral reefs so that the coral reefs can grow and try and keep tabs with sea level rise, because coral, of course, is the main way that islands are protected from the sea at the moment.
It is the biggest challenge we have, adaptation. I think a lot of people don't understand what adaptation means to small island, low-lying states. I can give you one example from the Maldives, which might demonstrate, the adaptation need and, the burden we have to face when we have to do it ourselves. The Maldives is an island nation which has 1,200 islands, very low-lying. No island, nowhere on any one of these islands is 2 meters above sea level. The total area of all of those islands is 300 square kilometers, and it has a total coastline length of 644 kilometers. If you can unwind that shoreline and put the land area behind it, you're finding a very long shoreline, 644 kilometers, with just less than half a kilometer of land behind that shoreline. So the Maldives and many other small island states like the Maldives is simply a coastline. It's not a landmass. And then one of the things that that is being often spoken about, with climate change and its associated impacts, is shoreline retreat, coastal erosion, and impacts on coastal dwellers. And you can imagine, if we have to deal with that, an entire nation, which is a coastline, trying to deal with that, and everybody knows, and it's not a cheap business to protect a shoreline. And in the Maldives, the rate at which things happen right now, it costs us about $5,000 to protect a 1 meter of shoreline. So put the figures together, you get, our adaptation costs just on shore protection, let alone on, finding fresh water, let alone on, growing, our food and vegetables and fruits on land. just to have the land in place, we have to spend over $3 billion. And for a population that is just 300,000 people, think about, the sheer burden we face, to deal with that.